Hi everyone, thanks for inviting me here today. So I did the BSc of Medical Science between 2008 and 2012, and I'm currently working in industry in Beckman Coulter in Galway. So I started in Beckman Coulter in September 2012. They're a diagnostics company. They're in two areas in Ireland. They're in Galway and they're in Clare as well. So as well as taking on myself, they took on 4 other graduates from my class, and we were based between the two different plants. So just a little bit about Beckman Coulter. Galway is Beckman Coulter's largest European manufacturer of diagnostic reagent and rotor products. So the company is split into two. The rotor section, they make the rotors for the centrifuges, and the diagnostic reagents are split into two themselves. So they make immunoassay products and chemistry system products and hematology products. And I was working in the chemistry and hematology section. So in the immunoassay department, they used 2 different analyzers, and they were the Access and DXI systems. And the products that they made for those 2 analyzers were for anemia, reproductive disorders, cardiac disorders, such as ferritin, B12, folate, FSH, LH, prolactin, CK&B, and myoglobin. And then the other section in CS and CA, they use the DXC as their chemistry analyzer, and the LH, DXH, and ActDiff, and they were their hematology analyzers. So basically in the lab in Beckman Coulter, it's set up exactly the same as a hospital lab would be set up. You've got your rows of your instruments, and instead of running patient samples on these analyzers, you're running controls and you're checking that the reagents themselves are working rather than checking the bloods. The chemistry and hematology section would be, they'd make albumin, ALP, AST, cholesterol, glucose, and for the hematology, erythrolyze, stabilize, lysis-3 and lysis-4. So this is the flow chart, basically just showing what goes on in Beckman Coulter, because like myself, most of you have probably never been inside a factory before. So just starting off at the top left-hand corner, purchasing, order, and the raw materials. So these are all the chemicals that are bought in to make the actual reagents. So your glucose, ethylene glycol, sodium sulfate. So once they're received in, they ring QC lab, which is where I was working, and someone's responsible for testing those raw materials. And that's mainly manual testing. It could be just something as simple as checking the pH of it, or you could have to run a full assay on it. And basically that's like Mary McGrath's class for the whole day, running a manual assay for about 8 hours. But like once again, like pipetting and things like that, they're so important, because if you get it wrong, your whole assay is wrong. You have to go back in and do the 8 hours all over again. If your test passes, your raw material is released, and you're basically saying to formulation, it's okay, you can go ahead and use this chemical, and they use it to formulate the hospital reagents. Then again, that formulation, that's made in big tanks, and again, that's sent down to QC, and they test that formulation on the hospital analyzers, just to make sure that it's doing what it is supposed to be doing. Once that passes, it's then filled and kitted on a production line, and then again it's sent back to QC, and you're testing the finished product. So we test 2 finished products. We're sent a kit from the beginning of the fill line, and we're sent a kit from the end of the fill line, just to make sure that there's no differences between the 2 of them. And finally, when that passes, you get to book it into stock, and it's sent off in trucks waiting for it. So my role as an advanced manufacturing quality control technician, I was responsible for carrying out inspection and biochemical testing of raw materials in process and final products. So this is your colorimetric assays that you're used to doing every week. pH, solubility testing, conductivity testing, and then you're working on your analyzers for the formulations. I was involved in real-time stability testing, so this is just where you're making sure the product is stable over the length of its expiry. So these are tested at set time points, so day 0, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and you carry on testing until the product expiry date. responsible for identifying non-conformances and following up on failure investigations. So unfortunately, not everything works 100% of the time. And if something does fail, you need to know why does it fail. Is it something you did wrong, such as pipetting, using the wrong chemical, or is there something wrong with the actual product itself? And if there is, that has to be pulled back. Generation of certificates of analysis. So every product comes with a certificate of analysis, and we're responsible for generating these and just making sure they're uploaded onto the internet. And involved in validation studies. So every analyzer in the lab and every assay that's run has to be validated. So what can I say about working in industry? There's a lot of documentation, so this is where your report writing is important. Like, everything has to be correct, and you need good attention to detail, and you need to be organised. It's high pressure. You need to be good at working to tight deadlines. So as I showed you on the flow chart, this truck's waiting at the door at the end of the day, and they're booked in for a certain time, and if you mess up your test and you don't get your work finished, that truck goes with or without you, and you lose the company a lot of money. So there's a good mixture of manual and automated testing. You've got your analyzers, but then you have your manual assays every day. There's a good lot of responsibility to it. I like the fact that it's multi-departmental, especially say in the hospitals, the big hospitals like Galway. If you work in biochemistry, you mightn't know people in the other labs around you, but in industry, you have to know the people working in the other departments. Like, you really rely on each other. There's a lot of audits, so quality, you might think it's really boring while you're here, but it is important. The FDA and the NSAI who audit Beckman, and trust me, you're running around like a headless chicken when they come in. So medical devices, their quality management system is ISO 13485, but it's very similar to the medical laboratory one, which is 15189. So what advice can I give you? I know for me and the rest of my class, a lot of us join LinkedIn. It's really handy for getting to know people working in your industry, and they also have a job section as well. Join recruitment agencies, like there's plenty of them in Galway. So Craig Recruitment would have been who I was recruited through. And then CPL, Sigma, ICE, TTM Healthcare, they're all based locally as well. What we did, we set up a class Facebook page. So between everyone in our class, you mightn't want a job if it comes up, or you hear of one and you don't want it, but put it up and someone you know might want that job. Ask others working in industry about internal job boards, because generally jobs are advertised internally before they're put out. Have your CV reviewed. If you're sending off your CV to loads of people, you're not hearing anything back and you're getting frustrated. Maybe it's something simple like your CV doesn't stand out, so just get it reviewed by somebody. Be open-minded. I know when the five of us were taken on by Beckman Coulter, like, we were all like, oh yeah, we're going to work in a hospital. It doesn't always work that way. But just because you work in industry doesn't mean you can't go back to a hospital, because 3 of them are now working in hospitals after working in Beckman. And if you're going for an interview, just emphasise your general laboratory skills, because they think because you've worked in a hospital it's different, but it's not. You've still got the same general skills, like your analytical skills, problem solving, report writing. So just emphasise that to potential employers. That's it.